Now, who are all these lovely people?
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the icons of the past who show up on our screens the most frequently.
No. Oh, no.
The actors are beside themselves with excitement.
Number 10, Marilyn Monroe.
I wanna be loved by you, just you, nobody else but you. I wanna be loved by you alone.
As a megastar of the 1950s and 60s, she appeared in dozens of movies during her life, thanks in part to the tragic circumstances surrounding her death at just 36 years old. Hollywood is still smitten with Monroe decades later. The fact that she was a gorgeous and well-known sex symbol probably also has something to do with it.
It's men like you who have made me the way I am. And if you loved me at all, you'd feel sorry for the terrible troubles I've been through, instead of holding them against me.
Monroe has been the subject of numerous biopics, miniseries, and documentaries. Some are good faith depictions of the star, while others have been criticized as exploitative. That's not even counting the many parodies of Monroe and her famous characters that still permeate pop culture.
'Cause the center of the triangle is little, old, sexy little baby me.
Number 9, Martin Luther King Jr.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
The civil rights movement was an incredibly important and tumultuous period in American history. This makes it a favorite topic for period films and TV shows.
The courts don't want us to march, but we must march. We must stand up. We must make a massive demonstration of our moral certainty.
Because Dr. King played a major role in Black Americans' fight for equality, he naturally shows up in a lot of these movies and shows, both as a central character and as a background element. His eloquence and his distinctive, resonant speaking voice made him particularly well-suited for powerful cinematic portrayals. Fellow activist Malcolm X is also depicted on screen pretty regularly, though not quite as frequently as King.
I come with great respect for your husband. I have no army behind me anymore. I have myself and the truth.
Number 8, Joan of Arc. Her story is so unique and fascinating, it's no wonder it's been depicted on screen so many times. Jeanne d'Arc began having religious visions when she was 13. She was still just a teenager when she led the French military into battle in the early 1400s.
She was on her white horse alone, facing the whole English army, and she drove them away. And now, Napoleon is free.
She was eventually tried for blasphemy for wearing men's clothes and refusing to submit to the church, and she was executed by burning at the stake. However, centuries later, she was canonized as a saint.
The sentence on you was annulled, non-existent, without value or effect.
I was burned all the same. Can they unburn me?
As soon as filmmaking was invented, people started making movies about Joan of Arc, and she began showing up in silent films as early as 1898. Unsurprisingly, she's appeared in dozens of French movies, but plenty of other countries also love to adapt her story.
Why?
Because they need someone to believe in.
Number 7, Marie Antoinette.
Everywhere you turn, you have made enemies. They're all over Versailles.
They are an attack on the Queen.
A lot of royals lost their lives during the French Revolution, but because she was young, beautiful, and controversial, she tends to show up on our screens more than the others. Unfortunately, those depictions don't always do the real Marie Antoinette justice, as she was a more complicated figure than some movies would have you believe.
And when they went to the Queen to tell her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
That's such nonsense. I would never say that.
As the last queen of France during a period of great upheaval, of course she was beloved by some and despised by others. In media, she's portrayed as a subtle and savvy politician on the one extreme and a frivolous ditz on the other. The reality was almost certainly somewhere in between.
I'm sorry you don't see it my way, Louis, because I mean to be the Dauphine of France. Not in the way I might have been if we'd stood together. But at least I'll be the brightest, highest figure in this court.
Number 6, Jesse James. Although he was accused of many brutal crimes, James's story was romanticized even while he was still alive. He was often depicted as a sort of Robin Hood figure, a reputation that he absolutely did not deserve.
Not your sort. You'll always suffer. And you haven't changed anything.
I made you think twice about burning folks' homes down now, didn't I?
The infamous outlaw was all over American cinema from the 1920s through the 60s, and he was even played by his own son in an early silent film. During the heyday of Westerns, he was a major character in numerous flicks of varying quality.
You see, we have something in common. We're both outside the law. That's why I offered you a chance to join me. But you chose to refuse me.
Now that Westerns have fallen off in popularity, he doesn't show up on our screens quite as often as he used to. But he's still appeared in several major movies and TV shows in the last couple of decades.
Government sort of run me ragged. I'm going a long way around the barn to say that I've been feeling cornered and just plain ornery as of late.
Number 5. Abraham Lincoln. Like the civil rights movement, the American Civil War is one of Hollywood's favorite topics. Of course, the 16th president shows up in many of these movies and TV shows.
Is for us the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced.
In the more than 100 years that Lincoln has been portrayed on film, he's been played by some pretty big names. Walter Houston took a turn as the Great Emancipator, as did Henry Fonda, Gregory Peck, and Daniel Day-Lewis.
We're stepped out upon the world stage now, with the fate of human dignity in our hands. Blood's been spilt to afford us this moment now.
Sam Waterston played him in 2 different TV miniseries just 2 years apart. He's been voiced by Orson Welles on the radio and in animated form by Frank Welker. Anyone want to place a bet on which cinema legend will play Lincoln next?
You know, I think I've already seen it. As a matter of fact, I'm sure I have.
I don't think you've seen it, sir. It's an entirely new play.
Really? I think I know how it ends anyway.
Number 4. Adolf Hitler.
People used to say a lot of nasty things about me. Oh, this guy's a lunatic. Oh, look at that psycho. He's gonna get us all killed.
If you've watched movies or TV in the last 80 years, you've seen him on your screen at some point. In fact, Hitler started appearing in films before the war was even over, including in some very weird stuff. In the years since, he's continued showing up in cinema again and again.
You Satan! You Satan! Get me out! Where are you? Here I am, Doe. Have you had enough?
This is partly because of the popularity of World War II movies. But some filmmakers also choose to depict him to make a political statement, or even just to be controversial. Sometimes he's played seriously, and sometimes as a parody, but there's no question that he's in a lot of media.
Hail myself! Hail myself!
Number 3. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
What?
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 Yes.
Jesus.
What?
Yes.
What?
You said what?
As the most important figure in one of the world's major religions, it's unsurprising that a lot of movies have been made about his life. In fact, he's been a favorite subject of filmmakers for well over a century. Many of the movies about Jesus have become major cultural milestones, while others have been largely forgotten. Among the more unique entries is the incredibly groovy 1970s musical Jesus Christ Superstar.
Should I die? Oh, why should I die?
And we can't forget the brutally bloody Mel Gibson-directed movie in which Jesus actually speaks Aramaic. Or that time Willem Dafoe played the Son of God and David Bowie showed up as Pontius Pilate.
I mean, can you do a trick for me now, say?
No, I'm not a trained animal. I'm not a magician.
Well, that's disappointing.
One of the Lumiere brothers even made a film about the Passion all the way back in 1898. Number 2. Cleopatra.
Your greed has brought you far, and through many dangers to look upon my golden beauty. Now you shall receive what you came for.
Hollywood is weirdly obsessed with beautiful women who died young. Although she was a savvy leader who spoke 9 languages, movies often reduce Cleopatra to a sexy love interest, focusing on her relationships with Mark Antony and Julius Caesar, rather than her political acumen.
Now, you're a silly little girl, and you're descended from the black kitten. You're both a girl and a cat.
And will he eat me?
Yes, unless you make him believe that you're a woman.
Oh. Then you must get a sorcerer to make a woman of me. Are you a sorcerer?
Caesar himself is also depicted in many historical films, though to be fair, he often shows up as a side character in movies about Cleopatra. She was most famously portrayed by Elizabeth Taylor in 1963, but thanks to a surge in interest in Egyptology in the late 1800s and early 1900s, she was a popular subject in the early days of filmmaking. Today, Cleopatra still often appears as a major character in movies, TV shows, and video games.
Why else are you here? And why save me so heroically from death, if not to use me?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Napoleon Bonaparte. You don't have to take our word for it. He holds the Guinness World Record for the historical character most portrayed in films. His rise to power following the French Revolution is a story practically made for the big screen.
I am France and France is me!
Napoleon might not have been a big man, but he was certainly a larger-than-life figure. Contrary to popular belief, he was actually average height, but he's often portrayed as a short, power-hungry dictator.
They will take the high road, and I will take the low road, and I will be in Scotland before them.
Thanks to the bicorn hat that he's almost always wearing, he's easy to spot, even in silent films. Ridley Scott's recent biopic might not have been a box office hit, but we imagine Napoleon will still be showing up on our screens for a long time to come.
I found the crown of France in the gutter. I picked it up with the tip of my sword and cleaned it and placed it atop my own head.
Which historical figure do you think deserves more time on the big screen? Let us know in the comments.
I'll march with my peers or not at all. I understand.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.